Welcome everyone to our Panther Perspective today, all about religious life here at High Point University. My name is Tashana Gardner. I'm one of the senior admission counselors here at High Point, and we're so excited to be able to share with you all of the different ways that our students are able to get involved here on campus when it comes to our religious life. So we have some amazing members of our religious life team here who are going to spend the next 20 minutes or so telling you all about all the awesome opportunities that we have for you. And then at the end, we'll have some opportunity to answer any questions that you guys have. So throughout the presentation, please feel free to throw any questions that you have into the chat. And then we'll make sure that at the end of the presentation, we make time to answer them. But all right, guys, you are ready, and we're so excited to have you guys take it away. Tell us all about religious life here at High Point University.
Thank you. Hey, everybody. My name is Reverend Andrea Williamson. I'm one of the ministers here in HPU Chapel. I have the privilege of leading and walking alongside this ecumenical and multi-faith community here at High Point. If you can see my background, it's a background of what the chapel looks like on our campus. You may have heard this or you may have seen this in your research, but High Point University was founded by the United Methodist Church about 4 years ago when I started. The mission of the chapel office came from Micah 6:8, which was to do justice, love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. But I would say probably the past year and a half to 2 years, our mission expanded to something called the beloved community. And I would say since then, we've been really focusing on what that means to be a member of this beloved community, what it means to be loved by God, to show love to yourself and to one another. And within that, we've seen there to be three foci. So what it means to belong in community, what it means to become who you're called to be, what your purpose is, what it looks like to live that out for you, and also what it looks like to behold the wonder and the awe of God. So like I said, I'm just grateful to be able to, celebrate the different Christian traditions and multi-faith traditions that are represented in this student body here. One thing I want to give you now, and I'll give it to you again a little bit later in our chat, is just a link to our campus ministries. So you can see a snapshot of what we offer here. Put that in the chat for you. And so you'll see through all of these campus ministries as you're kind of scrolling through, ones that focus on service or visual and performing arts, some that focus on Bible study and fellowship, interfaith and multi-faith dialogue. And you might also see, different combinations. But within our student body, just so you kind of have an idea about percentages, there's about 63% of our student population that has identified as Christian. And of that 63%, about 26% of the Christian population identifies as Catholic, and there are over 200 that have identified as Jewish. And so you'll see campus ministries specifically related to Jewish life and Catholic campus ministry as well. If you see something on that page that really intrigues you, there's a few things that you can do. You could go to our Meet the Staff page and reach out to one of us and tell us about your interests, and we can help connect you. Especially if you're still kind of considering whether High Point University is the best fit for you. But when you get on campus, there will be multiple opportunities to meet some of these groups and some of their leaders. So one of those things is on our first Wednesday chapel service of the semester, we invite all of our campus ministries to give a word about what they do in their organization. And then after chapel, you'll have a chance to kind of, like you do at open house, kind of walk around to each group and get to know their leaders as well. So that first chapel service of the year is one way to get involved, meet the staff page, and just doing outreach to us. And then the activities fair will be similar to the Religious Life Expo, but that will be like so many student organizations. So whatever you're comfortable with, you need to see it more than once, those are some opportunities for you. And last but not least, before I kick it off to our students to kind of tell you a little bit about their experience, I want to just tell you about a few unique opportunities in our office. So chapel is not required for your 4 years of being here, but you can take chapel for credit. So that'll give you an opportunity to discuss in like a small groups classroom setting, just different elements of Christian worship. And some of our students find themselves taking that course for credit because they're there every week and they want a place to be able to kind of unpack some of the things that they are seeing in worship, especially if it feels like different from what they grew up or how they grew up in their previous faith tradition. Student employment. We started this a little bit after I started here about 4 years ago, but our student employment program, we have multimedia assistants, outreach coordinators, office assistants, and then HPU Sunday leaders who are different artists, visual performing artists, as well as outreach coordinators. So student employment, gives you an opportunity to kind of like build those professional skill sets, but also develop spiritually, kind of bring your faith and your professional life together to see how that can play out here as you kind of develop in your faith, but also like how that may be transferred to your life beyond High Point. And then last but not least, our pilgrimage program. We go, before COVID, we went on 2 pilgrimages a year. That would be in country or out of country. The origin of pilgrimages came from, or comes from, many different traditions, but pilgrimage is talking about journeying. So this is really for people who are, in search of new or deeper meaning about God, whether it be in self or others, or nature, or, in our world. So hopefully, as the restrictions are lifted and as things start to open back up, we're excited to head to Italy, hopefully in the spring, and then revisit a place in Charleston, South Carolina that we went just as the pandemic was hitting our state and our triad area. So I'm going to kick it off to Justin and Sophie Carter, student leaders in our HPU Chapel community.
Thanks, Andrea. And hello, everyone. I am so glad that you could join us this evening on a lovely Tuesday. And my name is Justin Frederick, and I am a third-year pharmacy student here at High Point University. I am originally from Connecticut, born and raised, and I attended for my first year of college, actually. I attended Virginia Tech as an engineering student, but I switched to pharmacy when I realized engineering really wasn't what I was hoping for as a career. And so after changing my major, I transferred to High Point because a friend of mine that I graduated from high school with, she attended High Point and she told me about the wonderful pharmacy program here. And she recommended to me. I visited the school over the summer, and I just fell in love with this campus. I fell in love with the staff and how they are so invested in the growth of the students, especially in how we grow not only as professional leaders, but also as individuals. And so I transferred here and have been here ever since. And so from my experience being involved with religious life, it coalesces with my ultimate goal in life, which is to be the best version of myself. And I am a firm believer that uh, investing in yourself to really grow at, to really grow and develop your faith is equivalent to growing as a person. You know, I in this world that we live in that has crazy circumstances, not everything is certain. And one of the things I always kind of believed in, and something that my family believed in, is that this life in this world, this material world that we live in, everything can be taken from you. Materials, relationships, but the one thing that it can never take from you is what you believe in, what you put your faith in. And so faith, it goes without saying, is very near and dear to my heart. And so coming to High Point University, I felt a deep resonance with the religious life community. And I knew I wanted to be a part of it in some respect. And so one of the first ways that I got involved here at High Point after I transferred here was going to a chapel service and seeing what this was all about. My family is originally Baptist, we're still Baptist, but I was curious about the Methodist faith, how it differs from what I've grown up to learn in terms of being a Christian believer. And coming to a service, I just saw more similarities than differences. And even more so, I was astounded when I saw students, actual college students, facilitating the worship service, being a part of it as ushers. The moment I walked to the door, two students greeting me, I felt that sense of belonging that Andrea was conveying. And to even see students at the front of the chapel or leading us in prayer, it was mind blowing. I'd never seen anything like it, seeing students my age being so involved. And I knew I had to be a part of this. And so after service, I learned that those students were a part of a student organization called the Board of Stewards. And it's the mission and goal of the Board of Stewards to create a safe haven for students, especially incoming students, where they may feel a sense of belonging, where they may feel beloved, and where they can become more here in this community. Those are those three key values that we try to strive to achieve. And so when I interviewed to be a part of the Board of Stewards, I met other students from various majors, from various backgrounds in Christianity. And to this day, those students are still, I like to call, my closest friends, because they helped me become the young man I am today. They influenced my personal growth in becoming a better man. And so, as I mentioned before, the Board of Stewards, our goal is to create a safe haven and for students here in the community. But not only that, but to also have a positive influence in the greater High Point community. And so we focus on four main pillars of reaching out and executing that mission. Those four pillars, if you will, are service, outreach, worship, and philanthropy. And so we coming together every week for our meetings, and we would kind of separate or at least we would address each one of those categories is how we can become servant leaders in the community, not just in the High Point community, but also on campus and through our philanthropy, make it known what the Board of Stewards is all about and making it known that we are trying to create the safe haven that everyone, regardless of your background in life, whether you are Methodist, whether you're Baptist, whether you're a Christian, even if you who are part of the Jewish community, if you are part of any faith, we want you to feel welcome. We want you to feel beloved. We want you to feel belonging here. And so, in addition to those two pillars, outreach is how do we reach out to the greater High Point community and really have a meaningful impact. And not just in the High Point community, but we also like to remind ourselves that within the Board of Stewards, how can we ourselves help develop each other? How can we foster the relationship amongst ourselves? So I guess you can call it in reach instead of outreach. But lastly, worship. We are so intentional in going deeper and deeper in this faith journey. And so we're so intentional with making sure that when students come into each service, they feel that they feel a part of this journey, and that is not just something you take face value, but you internalize it. And so being part of the Board of Stewards was one of the really the most foundational aspects of my experience with religious life, and it helped propel me into the other areas of how I got involved with religious life. Being a student employee, I was a multimedia assistant and served as a photographer, a student photographer that took pictures of chapel events for our HPU chapel Facebook page. And then also, as Reverend Williamson mentioned in her segment, the pilgrimages is which to me as a student and as a person, it really challenged me to look into my own beliefs and why I believe those things. It's one thing to learn these messages in church or in chapel, but it's when you go out into the community, when you step off your front porch, that you really get to see that faith put into action and actually see this faith journey made real. See these messages that you learn in church made real. And so those were the main ways I've really been involved. And to this day, as a graduate student, I still do my best to be involved. And so I'll pass it off to Sophie, who is one of those close friends that I have been known to meet because of being part of the Board of Stewards.
Thank you, Justin. That was really sweet. Just to amplify what Justin has said so far. Yeah, being part of the board for me has been probably the most transformational aspects of my college journey. I've gained emotional and spiritual insight into the Board of Stewards and to the community. And I would not have gotten that any other way except through the board. And so growing in that community, the board itself, we try to, isolate time during the meetings to, share stuff that's going really awesome in our lives and stuff that's not going so well. And so we can pray for each other and be conscious of our brothers and sisters' journey, with Christ and just through college in general. And the reason that I joined the board, was the support, the major support I felt. Everyone was so enthusiastic, to, to get to know me, to, see where I'll go. And that support was just mind blowing. I never felt like I wasn't enough. or anything like that. And like going into college is like, am I supposed to be here? Like, is this the right place for me? When I stepped into chapel, there was not a doubt in my mind that this is like, there was no doubt that I should be anywhere else except High Point. And I really do believe that getting accepted into High Point University was an intentional like gift from God, because I wouldn't have grown spiritually, emotionally, in my mind, any other way except being here. So it's so awesome. To be honest, words can't even express like my love for this community, and like it's just so precious to my heart and soul. So I really hope that you might get involved or come to chapel at least, and kind of to Justin's point, we want you to find your place at High Point. The chapel community may not be it, but we want to encourage you to do wherever you feel where you belong the most. I felt, I felt like I really belonged in chapel. So I've stayed for like 3 years, going on 4 years. Um, and so it's just been an awesome, awesome journey and awesome opportunity. And some other stuff that I'm involved in is Alpha Delta Theta, which is a Christian service sorority on campus. And the club has been also really special to me because I've met my best friends in ADT. And I served as chaplain, so I created devotions for the club. And I did it over the pandemic, and so it was just like a really great way to still, share God's light, even though the world was really dark. And now I serve as pledge trainer. So for new freshmen that are coming in that are interested, I'll be like, oh my gosh, hey, this is like how you can get involved and stuff like that. So those are probably those are the two clubs where I'm like mostly like involved in, and I pour my 100% into them because I just love them so much. And then kind of to Andrea's point, I'm also a student employee at HPU Sunday, and I serve as outreach coordinator. So I create, social media posts, I send out emails and reminders just to grow the HPU Sunday community. And to be honest, I saw HPU Sunday as a seed, and now it's like it's growing its roots a little bit. And so I'm just really excited to see where, when like we will bloom into like this beautiful flower and it's like so fruitful. It's definitely challenged me like intellectually. It's like how can we grow, a Christian community where everyone feels involved, starting from the ground up. And so I've been challenged, just like how can I share Christ the best with some amazing people. And so I've really enjoyed being part of that. And the musicians that are a part of HPU Sunday are phenomenal. Like, wow, they're phenomenal. Um, and we record all of our like messages, and this past semester we talked about how God is in songs that we listen to like almost all the time. How that just amplifies, his awesomeness, and you might think like, oh, that's like secular, but like when God's in it, it's like everything is sacred. So yeah. And then lastly, the pilgrimages. These pilgrimages have been so phenomenal in my faith journey, and like just forming me. Like God is like literally molding me. He is the potter and I'm the clay. Like he's very intentional with every move he makes and every opportunity that has been given to me. And it, like at HPU. And so my first one was to New York City. Like, I have never been on a plane before, and I go to New York where it's like fast and, and almost from every single pilgrimage, I have gained in a lesson from God that I will never forget. Um, for that one specifically, I, found the relationship between love and suffering, and how like, God did that for us. He loved us so much and he suffered so much for us. Like, not just to have a relationship with us, to make us feel like guilty or anything, but he was like, this is how much I love you. I will suffer this much because I love you this much. It's just, I found that really, really awesome. Because, New York, there's like tons of love, tons of like, you come as you are because like you're awesome, but it's also there's some like parts that you rather ignore in a sense, like poverty or people homelessness and all these different things. Like we really immersed into that, which I wouldn't have gone anywhere else. Um, and to Andrea's point, I went to the pilgrimage to Mepkin Abbey in South Carolina, and as she mentioned, we might go back, which should just be awesome. But that's when my spiritual growth with God just changed into an amazing thing. Like I was able to think of him like critically, and like so lovingly. It wasn't like superficial anymore. Like I wasn't like necessarily like a superficial Christian before, but I got to see him in a new light. And I would not be the person I am in this very moment without any of these opportunities. So yeah, thank you so much for letting us, share with y'all. I know me and Justin, Andrea, and some other members that are not here right now, Preston, we're all super enthusiastic about your presence, and we're just so excited for where God will lead you.
Well, thank you guys so much for sharing your experiences, for sharing your stories with us today. It does look like we have a couple questions in the chat that we want to touch on before we go. So the first one is, it looks like we've had some students who actually kind of checked out the link that you put into the chat and kind of looked over some of the different organizations that we have here at High Point. But do you guys know if we have maybe any spaces for students who are Muslim? We do have some stuff there about like Hillel for our students who are Jewish, and then of course all of the organizations that we have for students who are Christian. But do we have any spaces maybe for students who are Muslim, if you guys know off the top of your head?
Right. Well, we do have a very small student population that identifies as Muslim. So right now, the university offers a multi-faith prayer and meditation space. There's also some student engagement in interfaith dinner club, as well as through multicultural affairs. But at this time, there hasn't been a move from students to organize themselves as, one of the student organizations. So like I said, we have a prayer space and ways that you can get involved. But I too am excited to see when, a student organization will come to be on this campus.
Okay, awesome. So looks like we have a follow-up question to that. The student just wanted to know that if they kind of wanted to pursue creating a student organization, do you all think that the university would be kind of like open to them creating an organization for students who are who follow, Islam?
Yeah. So you would connect with the Office of Student Life, and there's a process that you could follow with them, kind of guiding you through that process of what it would look like to start an organization here. But most definitely, yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for answering that. And listen, we do also have one more question that kind of came in, and they were wondering about if the religious life staff maybe offers any type of like faith-based counseling that they can pursue.
Yeah, I'm going to actually we have a pastoral care link as well on our website, and I'll put that in the chat as well. We are not licensed counselors, but we do offer pastoral care conversations. Sometimes that's in partnership with the counseling office. I'm currently in a program right now doing like spiritual direction training, and once that is complete, I'll be able to more like officially move in that role. But for now, what we offer are pastoral care conversations, and the link that I'm sharing with you now will just kind of like give you an idea of like what some students may come to our office to discuss.
Reverend Williamson, how can students kind of get in contact with your office if they do have more questions?
Yes, highpoint.edu/religious life, and you can just check out our Meet the Staff page. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at HPU Chapel. But if you wanted to reach out to one of the ministers specifically, you can just go on the Meet the Staff page and find our email. I had a question. I mean, we would love to connect with those of you that felt comfortable sharing your information. We'd love to get to know you, answer any questions if you might feel comfortable like one-on-one, or help kind of direct you once you get here to wherever your interests take you.
Okay, students, well, for those of you who are here, again, you do have the contact information for those two current students. And Reverend Williamson has told you how to reach out to her, so definitely reach out to her. Let them know what questions you have. I'm sure they would love to chat with you. But thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to come and speak with our prospective students that we have here. We greatly appreciate it. And thank you guys for coming and joining us to hear about our religious life on campus today as well. Feel free to join us next week for our next Panther Perspective at 4 o'clock on Tuesday. But otherwise, thank all of you so much and have a great rest of your day.